Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at some really fascinating material. It gives a pretty unique perspective on finding strength and, well, blessing, especially when things feel uncertain. Our whole mission here is to explore this connection between trust and presence as we navigate life.
Yeah, and our main source is the structured document, 7-Step Quiet Time Notes. It focuses heavily on Psalm 84, which the notes actually call a love song for God's presence. It even gives a date, June 30th, 2025. Feels like a little nudge, maybe, a chance for a fresh start within the reflection itself.
That's right. And our job really is to pull out the key insights, those little nuggets of wisdom from this material. We want to help you grasp what it really means to trust deeply and find strength, particularly when life gets complicated. It's about maybe rethinking what blessing even means. Okay, so let's dive right in. The very first step in these notes, it's simple but quite profound. It says to pause, then take a deep breath and invite God into this moment. And it stresses this isn't just, calming down your fears. It's about remembering who he is. What's sort of striking about starting that way?
Well, what's really significant is how this intentional quiet time, as it's called, is framed. It's presented as a very deliberate choice. It's about recentering yourself before anything else. It kind of suggests that true strength isn't found in just jumping into action. It's about getting perspective first, grounding yourself in something bigger before you tackle your situation. It's like a conscious stillness, a heart reorientation.
Right, that makes sense. So once you're grounded, the source leads us into Psalm 84. Which, as you said, it calls this love song for God's presence. It really emphasizes the writer's intense longing to be near God. And interestingly, it's not because everything's great, but because, and this is a quote from the source, God is better than anything else. Can you unpack that longing a bit for us? What's the psalm show?
Oh, definitely. The psalm uses such vivid language. It's not just a casual wish. Think about verses 1 to 3. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts. That title, Lord of Hosts, it's about God's power, his authority. So his dwelling isn't just pretty, it's secure, ultimate safety. Then it says the soul longs, yes, faints for the courts of the Lord. Faints, that's intense. It's like a physical ache, like being deeply homesick for something vital you feel you're missing. And even the sparrow, the swallow, these tiny birds find a home, a nest, right there at God's altars. It completely flips the idea of belonging. Home isn't about your circumstances. It's found in his presence.
Wow, faints is powerful imagery. And then there's that line in verse 10. It really stops you in your tracks. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. What does that actually mean? For someone listening, valuing one day like that over, say, almost 3 years anywhere else, what's the real implication there?
It implies a difference in quality that just blows quantity out of the water. It's not about how long you live or what you do, but the depth of that time when it's connected to his presence. It suggests that one single moment of real connection, of truly being present with God, can be more meaningful, more, alive than decades spent chasing other things that don't ultimately satisfy.
Okay, so linking that ancient longing to now, the source uses this really relatable analogy. It asks you to picture being on a long road trip. You're tired, maybe the GPS is going haywire, you're just not sure you're on the right path. And it connects that feeling directly to people in their 20s and 30s, that phase of figuring out careers, relationships, identity, and purpose. We've all felt that uncertainty, right? That kind of lostness.
Absolutely, we really have. And Psalm 84, in that context, it becomes like an anchor, or maybe a deep breath, as the source says, right in the middle of that messy journey. And the source clarifies, the longing described isn't just for a physical building, a temple. It's for God's presence itself. It describes it as being homesick for a place they've never fully known, a longing for something stable, something beyond just the physical world. In the psalm, it reveals quite a bit about the person who actually trusts in God. Looking at verses like 1, 2, 5, 7, and 10, we see first they long for God like that traveler longs for home. It's that deep. Second, they find strength in him. Even when life feels like a desert, it references the Valley of Baca becoming a place of springs. For anyone unfamiliar, Baca basically means weeping or sorrow. So a place of tears becoming a source of life. It's a powerful metaphor for finding renewal right in the middle of hardship. It shows how they go from strength to strength, not bypassing difficulty, but transformed within it. And maybe the most radical part, they'd rather be a doorkeeper in God's house than live large without him. It just completely redefines success, doesn't it?
It really does. Puts things in perspective. Where are you really putting your energy? And that leads us perfectly to what the source highlights as the key verse. Psalm 84, verse 12, Lord Almighty, blessed is the one who trusts in you. But then comes this core insight. And this is, I think, the crux of it. The source says, and it even has a little light bulb icon. Notice this. The blessing isn't the reward for trusting God. trusting God is the blessing. Wow. Okay, that flips the script on how we usually think about blessing, right? What does that actually mean when we're facing struggles?
It changes everything. Fundamentally, if you really take that in, it means the act of trusting, of leaning into God's presence, that itself is the benefit. It's not something you get later after you've proven your trust. It's what you have right now in the midst of trusting. Because as the source says, when you trust him, you're never alone. You are already on the road to Zion, which is like that spiritual destination, that place of promise, even if it feels like a valley. So the valley, the hard place, it isn't a detour from the blessing. It's actually the place where the blessing of trust, of his presence, is experienced most keenly. It shifts focus from the outcome to the journey with him.
That's profound. It really makes it personal. And the source does exactly that. It prompts us with some direct questions for reflection. Questions like, are you chasing something that promises happiness but leaves you empty? That hits home for a lot of us, I think. And what would it look like to recenter your heart on God today? Not tomorrow, but today. And then how can you walk through your valley with strength from him? These aren't just like theoretical exercises, are they?
No, not at all. And when you filter those questions through this core idea that trust is the blessing, they become really practical. It forces you to ask, okay, what would actually change in how I see things, how I act, if I truly believe this? If I believe that just by trusting, I am already blessed, already accompanied, already given strength, regardless of the circumstances, it might change what you chase after, how you handle setbacks. It's a deep shift.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's just sit with that prayer from the source material for a moment. It's quite powerful. Lord, help me to trust you, not just for what you can do, but because you are enough. Even the valley, I want to walk with you. That really captures it.
It does. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on. If the very act of trusting is the blessing, how does that change your approach to whatever's next? Future challenges, uncertainties. How does knowing that empower you right now in whatever valley you might be in? How does it help you see it not as an end point, but as part of that journey the psalm talks about, going from strength to strength? It fundamentally redefines what it means to be blessed, doesn't it?
Absolutely. A truly transformative idea. We really encourage you to keep exploring this. Continue your own deep dive into what it means to find strength and blessing right there in the act of trusting.